Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I'm sorry about the interruption last time. We're just going to check out the audio and make sure everything's working okay, because if not, we'll probably have to pre-record this and then chuck it up on YouTube later. But it does seem to be rather laggy on my phone. What about you guys? Laggy, right?
Yeah, frame rate's low.
Frame rate's absolutely dog, yeah. Yeah, it seems to be really laggy on my phone. Jorgen, do you think you could change the colors on the different tiers? If that's doable, then yes, I'll do it. That's a good idea. Thank you. But it seems to be super ultra laggy on the stream playback. I guess.
The audio sounds great, by the way.
The audio sounds good. It's just really laggy.
Yeah.
That's odd. Yeah, that's a pain. That is a pain.
How clear is the audio, guys? Can you hear us? Loud and clear?
Sam just wants one person to talk to him, please.
Just acknowledge me, please. Please.
It should be good. It sounded good on mine while I'm testing it. Sounds good.
It's sounding clear. So I guess we'll just carry on, and maybe it'll get better throughout the stream. Who knows? So yeah, sorry if you're watching on YouTube live, you're just gonna have to put up with our very laggy faces. If you're watching this afterwards, just listen to it as a podcast. This is just really for audio, and we're not very good looking anyway, so it doesn't matter.
My head is so square. I like a Lego man.
So okay, well, if you guys don't mind just listening to us, yes, Alio, the show must go on. I'm gonna let my boys introduce themselves once again. Tojo, introduce yourself, my man.
Okay, hello people. As Jebel said, my name is indeed Tojo. That is a good start. But yeah, I run my own YouTube channel. I part-time hang out in Jebel's live chats to try and snipe some subscribers every now and then. It's nice. Chat a lot of crap in the comments and stuff. But yeah, I kind of collecting cards for a long time. Started up YouTube like last year, like it seems like everyone else did. There's been a massive resurgence of channels, but I've been having a blast with that. And yeah, I also run another account called Villain Cards. I'm based in the UK and buy and sell like Japanese product, very similar to basically what Jebels does as well. But yeah, that's kind of me. Do you want to go, Sam? Introduce yourselves to the people.
Thank you very much. So similar to Tojo, I'm from the great United Kingdom. Not so great, but you know. Been collecting Pokemon cards since I was a little kid. I dropped off, in my teens, and now I'm a fully fledged adult. I've started again, which makes perfect sense. So I met the guys about a year ago through Instagram. Got to know them quite well. Become part of a community. As I'm sure most of you guys know, the community is probably the best part about this hobby. So I've made some really good friends. I also run a podcast called the SNT podcast. So I'll plug it a bit later. But
so before we get into it, if you guys do want to check them out, they do have their Instagrams are in the description. Tojo does have a YouTube channel, which I did forget to add to the description, so I'll do that later.
Shocking.
But you'll be able to easily find him. There's no one else called Tojo. So yeah, we've got a lot to talk about this evening, and the biggest thing we want to talk about is, of course, the new PSA price hikes, what's happening at PSA, and these two guys have cards currently at PSA. If you know me, I say on my platform quite often that I'm just staying really clear of PSA for the time being, because it's really costly, and also you never know when your cards are coming back. So Tojo, what's happening at PSA? What is going on?
Wouldn't we all like to know, Jebbles? Wouldn't we all like to know? I think that, yeah, as Sam said, that is the problem, right? We don't really know, aside from just so many people submitting cards. There's been a huge influx of kind of collectors, people coming back into the hobby, people going, more full time with this stuff. People going harder on just collecting again, just because disposable income, because of the situation. I think it's just a contribution of like factors that have just snowballed into this bottleneck that they've got there. I mean, you were saying like you kind of stray away from sending stuff in just because you don't know when things are going to come back, but it hasn't always been like that. Long gone are the days where like you could send something off in bulk and have it back within a month, 2 months, and like that was just kind of the norm, right?
Yeah.
Or the 45-day turnaround.
Yeah, 45-day. I think the problem is that there's just been a huge like disparity between them updating and communicating with customers in comparison to like where they're actually at. So people have just carried on adding to the pile. And it's not just Pokemon, right? I think an important thing to mention on this stuff is that PSA don't just solely grade Pokemon. It's really easy for us in this like what do you call it? What's it called? When you're in your own like bubble, right?
Yeah, right.
We're just like Pokemon, right? But like the majority of the backlog is sports at the moment. There's a massive like surge in like American sports cards.
I think someone at PSA said it was 80% sports related, NBA, NFL, that kind of stuff, which is insane. We think our community is big, but it's impossible to get any sports stuff in the United States. I know it's a lot bigger here than it is like in the UK, for example. But just it's absolutely crazy to envision, that the tens of thousands of cards that just Graded Gem have put in, that's just a sliver of the amount that PSA actually has, which is just, absolutely nuts. So talking about the price increase, do you guys think it's something PSA needed to do? Is it something that they need to do to get fewer people, sending through PSA so they can get through their backlog while retaining that volume of, cash that they're receiving?
Yeah, I think you've hit, that's spot on. I mean, I think it's only temporary. I can't see it being $100 for a regular card forever, because it's just insane. Like, eventually, no one's going to send off a card for $100. It's insane. I think it's temporary until they can clear through the backlog, the insane backlog they've got. I mean, I know it's put a lot of people off sending new cards out. I mean, I've got a pile of 100 cards. As soon as I saw that announcement, I'm not sending those off anymore. At least for a year, because it's insane.
Yeah. Definitely, it's definitely not worth it to most people to pay $100, and that's like $100 not including. So for you guys in the UK, pay import taxes and stuff that could like hit you. There's so many other factors on top of that $100. For us who are in the USA, we could like literally hand it in to PSA at their doorstep and get it back, and that $100 is $100. But for those who are international, Australia, Europe, United Kingdom, places like Japan, there's a lot more costs involved than just $100. So this is just becoming really, I think this is now definitely a luxury. PSA is definitely a luxury now to have. Like $100 per card is absolutely insane, and out of most people's prices. So they've priced out a huge portion of their community, as it were. So is this going to, impact CGC and Beckett? What's going to happen with them?
I think before, I just want to make a quick point before we move on to like the CGC stuff with when we talk about like pricing like people out. So I think one thing is, if you're someone who's been collecting cards for like the last year, or kind of only really looked at PSA in the last year, we have to think about like, where do you sit as a collector, and with those graded cards, like what have you been doing with those? So have PSA just priced out that market of people? Because we've had people for years and years like spending, oh my god, there's so much spam going on in the chat. What is happening right here? There's you've got to think there's like, if it's been so easy to like, especially with third-party services that we talk about, Graded Gem, you mentioned them earlier. Now in the UK, like grading is so accessible for us here, and it's accessible all over Europe. They've got Graded Gem, Italy, Germany. Yeah, there's one over in the States now. You've got Z&G running that one there as well. So
yeah.
Accessibility is going to lend itself to this complete resurgence of like people just being like, oh, like, because £8-10 for to send off a card to Slab on a bulk submission is not a lot of money for a lot of people. So, and if we think about that, we're talking about $100, like that seems insane for a card. But then again, if you think about that, the last 12-month period, if you look at, say, sending off, I don't know, let's go like Charizard VMAX from Darkness Ablaze. There's hundreds of those, like thousands at PSA right now, probably in the backlog, right? How easy is it for you to turn around and say, oh, if I spend $100, even at the pricing now, based on the way the market's been moving, it's an $80 card or a $90 card. You spend $100, it comes back and it's a $500 card at a PSA 10.
Right.
That isn't an insane price tag to attach to that like inflated value when it comes out the other side, because the grades are pretty much guaranteed at 9s and 10s on modern, pretty much, if there's not the printing problems that have been recently, happening, whatever. But in Darkness Ablaze, that's just one example, right? So these things don't seem that insane right now, like, and we have to think about who's actually being priced out. So if you turn around and say, like, okay, you've got, so Sam, you're like, I've got a stack of 100 cards.
Yeah,
like,
that's not being spent.
Yeah, I know, but if we've got, like, if the price doubles, how easy would it be for you to go through those cards and go, like, okay, like, actually, if I take 2 cards and, like, do a little head-to-head with them, like, what is a sensible thing, just generally, like, what's a sensible thing to me to send off to actually authenticate and grade, rather than just chucking everything at PSA?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I could definitely cut that pile down to, 10 cards, perhaps. But... I think that's a really great point, to be honest. A lot of people are just sending off junk, like a
100%.
reverse hollow Magikarp from Evolution.
100%.
It's like, why? What's the point?
Reverse hollows jumped on PWCC. They said that the other day. There was like a reverse Lugia that's from what was the Lugia set from Sun and Moon? Lost Thunder. There's like a reverse one of that, and then there was like a Rayquaza from Celestial Storm or something, like a regular rare PSA 10 up at like $90. Like, why are cards like this? Like, why are they being sent off in the first place?
Right.
And like, why are they being graded, and why are people paying that price? Like, it's just silly.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean,
and at that price, you'd send them off at $100 all day, every day, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, someone in our chat, A. Cortez, was saying this is the junk slab era, and I do believe that if you go into eBay just right now, I haven't done it today. If you go on eBay and type in Pokemon PSA, I guarantee you, like 95% of the PSA slabs that you guys see out there are absolute shit. There are things that just should not be slabbed in general unless you have like an affinity to that card. Like, for example, maybe because my favorite Pokemon is Dragonite, I would get a PSA collection of Dragonites, but they wouldn't be on eBay. They'd be in my collection and they would not be on the market. They would just be my own thing. And then another good point that A. Cortez in the chat made was that pop reports have to explode at some point. And I think that's an excellent point, because so many people are sending in bulk, Wizards of the Coast cards. So, the Caterpies are suddenly worth X amount of dollars, hundreds of dollars of first edition and stuff. So everyone's chucking all these cards in, and the ones that are coming out are expensive, but think of the hundreds or thousands of those cards that are sitting in bulk, that are waiting to get graded. And whenever this market does get flooded, I mean, I don't know, maybe it's going to be summer, maybe it's going to be sometime between summer and winter, maybe even into 2022. At some point, this market is going to have an absolute surge of cards, and I suspect it will be from like now onwards, because this is where we put the $100 price tag. So less cards, like you won't be sending a Caterpie to be graded anymore, right? Because you're not going to make that much money on it.
Some people will probably.
Some people might. But even like big players like Z&G Emporium said, he bought a collection. I can't remember how many thousands of dollars it was. And now he's not sending it to PSA because he's just not going to make his profit on it anymore, because it's $100 per card. So all those cards that did make it in are suddenly going to be entered into the market. And I think we're going to see a very flooded market at some point. And I do wonder what impact it will have on the prices. Do you think, we're going to have not a market crash per se, but a flood in the market where we're going to be struggling to sell certain slabs, and there's going to be competition, basically a race to the bottom for sellers on eBay to get rid of their PSA slabs?
I think it'll when we talk about lots of cards coming onto the market, we have to remember that PSA aren't stupid. Like, they're not going to just take this 100,000 card backlog, grade all of them, and then like everyone's going to have them uploaded to eBay at the same time.
Right.
The question that we have to ask ourselves is is the market growing and healthy enough to be able to absorb the increased quantity of these cards over the next, say, 12 to 18 months? And if we talk about prices, if we look at cards like actual rare cards, like cards, when we look at pop reports, you can get, like, most vintage cards, we have the ratios there now. Like, they're standardized. Like, you're gonna, every time you send off a Charizard to grade a base set unlimited Charizard, it's gonna have, you know, for every 100 people that send that card in now, that ratio of the grades that come back isn't going to change from what's been happening over the past 2 years. It's just that maybe there's more of them going there because people are sending them off.
Right.
So when you go and look at, say, if you look at that base set Charizard, the top grades, the actual rare, like the things that are hard to acquire, and it's why like cards like Evolution's Charizard sits so high, is because it's actually a genuinely hard grade to acquire, that PSA 10.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as you're not sending off this like crazy, just like we're talking about, you know, there's all the hype around like the base set starters in base unlimited, shadowless, and first edition, right? You can open packs and have like one of those. You have like 2 of them in every pack if you're lucky. Right. So like those are the ones that you're gonna see high quantities of, which does not make them rare. Like, it isn't a rare card by any means. Like, there's a reason it's called a common. So those prices, they're going to move. And if lots of people have sent them in, I just can't see people able to, like, I'm not going to, let's face it, I'm not going out and buying any, like, but I'm not going out and buying any Kanto starters. Like, I would just never buy them in a slab. Like, why the hell would I ever do that? That's just dumb.
Yeah, it makes no sense. I mean, you could buy an absolutely mint base set Charmander for like 20 quid, 15 quid, if we're talking mint, and even, you know, near mint, £5, something like that, $5, whatever. Like, it doesn't make sense. It does not make any sense.
Yeah, why would you put it in a slab? Why do you need a slab at that point? Yeah,
unless, exactly, like you said, it's got that sentimental value. Then I can understand, but
yeah, and then comes the point, you know. So, I'm assuming all 3 of us here are now priced out of PSA, unless one of you guys won the lottery, right? So at what point do you say, okay, I want to get my stuff graded? Do I go to CGC or do I go to Beckett? Because we know CGC's had a little bit of bad press recently, and they're kind of newer to the trading card. They're newer to the trading card game, although they're very experienced in the grading scene. And you know, I think Beckett is the best looking slab personally. It's just a personal personal thing of mine. I prefer looking at them than any other casing. But is this, you know, CGC's time to shine? Because they've had so much press and everything, they're going to have a vast number of people probably coming into them that were probably going to use PSA, but now they can't. Is this like CGC's time? Is it their time where they got, you know, 6 months to really put their print down on the Pokemon game, the sports game, and everything like that?
I mean, yeah, they can definitely. This is an opportunity for them to take a big slice of the pie from PSA,
right?
100%.
Yeah,
and like you said, they are, you know, probably one of the most experienced grading companies in the world.
Yeah.
Not so much with trading cards, obviously, but with comic books.
Need to put some respect on their name for sure. 100%. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, personally, for me, I think with vintage WotC, PSA and Beckett are always going to overtake CGC at the minute. I think I would send off modern cards to CGC. This is me personally. I would send off modern cards to CGC because I don't want to wait 5 years to get them back and also pay, you know, $100 a card. I think with anything vintage, I would still be looking to send to PSA at the minute.
Right.
I think PSA and Beckett have that. It's like an iPhone versus a Pixel. You know, I've got a Pixel. But the iPhone's got that pristine feel. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think it's tough, like, because I think people put different grading companies on pedestals for different reasons, and there's different strategies that go on all the time depending on the different people that you talk to. The thing that worries me about PSA in the long run is their quality assurance in terms of the grades that they can put out. So we all know that there's plenty of people out there that will send stuff to PSA because there's leeway on that top 10 grades. Like, you can have a corner nick, you can have maybe a print line on a modern card, and they'll overlook these things. Whereas BGS and CGC both offer subgrade, services on top of the general grade. And for me, from an objective standpoint, so if I remove all emotion and sentiment behind like the history of PSA and owning PSA slabs, if you remove the name and you go from a pure objective standpoint, that it should be a no-brainer, right? BGS and CGC are the guaranteed authenticators. They give you the most detail. They give you everything about the whole point behind the grading process is to get it authenticated in the condition that it's in to the most accurate degree that you can have it. Right. So like, that's why when people say, "Oh, send modern off to CGC," I can understand if you didn't go for the subgrade service. But for me, like, I'm like, well, if the delays weren't there, just go PSA, man. Like the subgrades remission and the fact that it seems like that top end is a little bit lower for PSA for you to hit that 10. Like, I'd be sending that to PSA, and then the stuff that needs that condition detail, the actual rare cards, I'd be looking at going for black labels and going for the subgrades, because that's where you start to get that fine-grained detail that's important. You know, those details are important when you're looking at huge, high-value items.
Yeah.
What do you think, Jebbles? What do you think?
I mean, I think with CGC, I think their grading is probably the harshest there. I mean, apart from getting like a Beckett Black Label 10, which is like the creme de la creme of...
It's beautiful as well.
Yeah, and it looks amazing. I think you know, I know that CGC, don't they have a special label for a perfect 10?
It's called Pristine 10, and it's got like gold text on it.
Yeah. So actually, funny story. I was on Facebook earlier today, and a guy in a group had said, you know, I sent 5 Pikachu, the McDonald's promo Pikachus, the ones that are going for like crazy stupid number price right now, and he sent all of them to CGC to get graded, and 3 of them turned into 9s and 2 were 9.5s, and his like answer was like, it's impossible to get a 10. And I think getting a 10 from CGC means a lot more than getting a 10 from PSA, just from what I've seen. I feel like getting a 10 at PSA is just like, if you know, I don't know how to put it exactly, but it's much easier. And those subgrades that you touched on, Tojo, I really think that it should be a necessity for grading services to do it. I really hate how PSA don't do it, because there's nothing worse than getting a 9 or, God forbid, like a 9.5. And you know, you don't know what the hell's wrong with your card. It looks perfect to you, but to the grader, what was the issue? Whereas with Beckett and CGC, you have that, okay, maybe the corner was a little bit nicked, or, you know, there's certain things you can look at. So I really think, you know, PSA is falling behind in terms of certain things. You know, they have a lot of issues right now, whether it's, you know, grading times, whether it's fees. And I do think the way that CGC and Beckett grade their cards is a little bit better. I just think because PSA are the, you know, bread and butter for the Pokemon community anyway, that everyone kind of just gives them that pass. You know, once you're the top dog, you kind of get a lot of passes thrown your way. And CGC and Beckett are trying to, you know, climb that ladder and try and knock off PSA on the way. And I think they're doing a good job of it, because they are doing extra things such as not putting up prices. The times are much better, and also doing simple things like the subgrades. What do you think, Sam?
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I think the subgrades is a very attractive feature to have. Like you said, I mean, knowing why your card got a 9.5 and not a 10,
right?
It's pretty crazy. I mean, I would want to know, like, is it the corners? Is it the edges? Is it the surface? And I think having that subgrade feature is definitely going to make them much more attractive going forward.
Right.
I definitely think maybe 6 to 12 months from now, I think CGC is going to be right up there with
Yeah, and there's an interesting question from someone in chat saying, but would people buy a PSA card over a CGC card? So if you had, you know, 2 Charizard cards in front of you, and you could pick one free of charge, what one would you pick? The PSA one or the CGC graded one?
I think it depends on the grade, right? There's another comment in the chat, right, where they say we talk about conversions. So like we say a PSA 10 is a 9.5 in Beckett and CGC.
Yeah.
Personally, I don't think we have enough data points to know that. Like, unless you've cross-graded yourself and you've done it for like 10 to hundreds of cards, you do not know that. and it changes by era as well. Like I could go down a huge rabbit hole about this, like saying like WotC has print lines, which print lines are remitted from certain like grading standards now. Like you've seen on like some of the VMAX cards in Modern, they have print lines, but then they still get 10s, and it's like, well, Modern, how can it be? Yeah, like. So if we talk about, say, like if I had a 9.5 let's say a 10 across the board, right? So we've got like a 10 Beckett, a 10 CGC, not black label or pristine, and a 10 PSA. You go PSA because of the name. In 12 months' time, like you said though, Sam, when we have that established, because CGC, if you've been involved in collectibles all your life, like I know who the CGC name are just because of comics.
Right.
I've grown up with them. So they're a huge company and I've got a lot of respect for what they do. And I know that they can do a good job. Now that they get their teething issues out, like we talk about the cases, things like that, in 12 months' time, who knows? Because for me, I would much rather know that the card that's inside the case is pristine. So if I can pay a little bit of a premium on top of that PSA 10 price, and know that I'm going to get that black label or I'm going to get that pristine 10, it's a no-brainer for me. As a collector, like no-brainer. I'd take the pristine copy all day.
Right. Yeah, okay. That definitely makes sense.
I mean, that makes perfect sense. For me, I've still got it has to be a PSA, so my phone's going off. I'm going to put that on mute. For me, yeah, I've still got that snobbery with the PSA. I just think at the minute it holds the weight. But I completely agree. Do we know that whole casing issue with CGC was actually proven?
Oh, really?
It's smokes and mirrors, isn't it? Like anyone can post something on Instagram and be like, I cracked this thing, and now it's like it opens. But I need to see it from like multiple people, and some people have tried and they couldn't do it. But we do know that the case changed. That there is evidence for that. I've seen that the corners, the way that they mount them together has changed slightly. Okay. So they have definitely changed something. So I wouldn't think that they would do that if there wasn't a problem, right? Would make sense. So
I quickly want to go over it while we're on the topic of CGC and the conspiracies behind them. There was a while ago, if you guys remember, the very first shiny Charizard VMAX was graded by CGC. And it was, this was months ago, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, before anybody, basically before anybody knew anything at that point. And so CGC graded it. What are your opinions on because that also got like a special label. What was, I don't know what was on the label. It was like, apparently it got a special label where it said, I can't remember. I need to find it. But anyway, before I find it, do you guys think, things like this, CGC should be allowed to grade cards which are not released to the public yet and could have been a stolen card? I don't know if it was a stolen card or not for sure, but apparently the rumors going around it was a stolen card. Is that okay? I don't know if PSA would take it or not.
I mean, they should probably steer clear of that. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
It's not going to bode well, is it, for the business in the long term?
Right.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it was.
I would not touch that.
It's bad. I think it's bad. It's you're giving priority to a closed market of people that have certain benefits and contacts, and where do you draw the line at that point? We talk about certain content creators this week uploading Battle Styles content. Like, do you let Leonhardt walk in with his latest secret rare pulls and gain that first to market premium? Yeah. Like, I've been an advocate of calling that out for a long time. I think it's bullshit. Like, it's so shit that someone through links through like Pokémon Company and stuff can get a product 2 weeks early, have it ready to go, walk it into BGS, get it graded, and then slap it on eBay with the first to market premium.
Right.
But like, that's kind of a slightly different issue. I think if the product isn't released to the general public, there's no way that should be authenticated as an authentic product, because it's not officially released yet, right? Like, unless it was a pre-release card, like specifically denoted, like the old WotC cards, is like a pre-release.
Right.
So it's
okay
for it to be in the open market, right? That's the whole point of the card. Then, and even then, most of those were released at like pre-release events, so the equivalent of the build and battle deck kits now. So like for me, it's bad. Like it's bad doo-doo. They should not be doing this. Like don't touch it. And I think they realised they made a mistake with that one. I'm pretty sure.
Right, and there's an interesting comment here that says, I don't think that it's up to the grading companies to police that, though. And that is interesting because it is something that when I was listening to the podcast that I heard this from, it did cross my mind while I was walking. I was thinking, well, you know, the grading company is only there to make their money, and that's like a way to put out their name. Shouldn't it be Pokemon's responsibility and the manufacturer's responsibility? Like, they go to so many lengths to keep leaks from happening. Like, you're not allowed your phone, you're not allowed anything in the manufacturing plant. You have to have it locked away before you go to work. But cards sometimes sneak out and leaks sneak out. Shouldn't it be up to the Pokemon company and the manufacturer, not the grading companies, to police this? Because if one person does it for the shiny Charizard, who do you think is going to do it again for the next big card? It's going to be the exact same dude saying, okay, I can make $1,000 on this easily before anyone else. And missing one card is probably not that big a deal to the manufacturing company. It could be written off as a trashed card. There was something wrong with it, a misprint, miscut, whatever you want to call it. So do you guys think it should be up to the Pokemon company to do better and the manufacturing company to do better? Or is it solely the responsibility of grading companies to say, hold up, I'm not going to grade these cards anymore?
I think it's a mixture. I think everyone could do better. I mean, there's so many things that the Pokemon company could improve on as it is. I mean, policing the staff is obviously one thing.
Right.
Obviously, meeting the current demand is obviously another thing. And, they're trying to fix these problems. I definitely think they could do better, but at the same time, from an ethical standpoint, I think PSA, CGC could definitely do a better job in policing that as well. I mean, surely they want to distance themselves from any kind of bad press.
Yeah.
Surely.
But at the same time, then they can be like the first ever shiny Charizard VMAX was graded by CGC.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Some people wouldn't see that as bad press, though. They'd be like, okay, CGC's the kind of company that's going to grade these kind of cards. If PSA and Beckett won't do that, it's kind of like a unique selling point. Although some people in the community may be like, that those are arseholes, I'm not going to do business with them. Some people might be like, well, I'm going to do business with them just purely off of that. So I'm playing devil's advocate here. I don't believe you should be nicking cards and like sending them to CGC or anything like that. But it is interesting how, certain grading companies go about certain things. And also, of course, there was the CGC thing with, what's his name? SM Pratt in his E4 forum. There was that whole scandal. So CGC, for the amount of time they've been in the trading card game, have had a lot of press, whether it's negative or positive. They've definitely been there. But right now, I do think they have, a case to make for having that unique selling point of being very quick with the turnaround times and also very, very reliable. And our good friend Arbuck's Dan has sent hundreds of cards to CGC. And if we tried to replicate that with PSA now, there'd be I think if we all put our money together, we still wouldn't be able to afford putting hundreds of cards to PSA anymore. So what do you think is the long-term outlook? Let's look 1 year down the road, guys. What does PSA look like? What does the card market look like? Is our PSA back to usual? Is the card market crashing? Like, what is happening a year from now? If you think about it now.
I mean, I would hope, as happy as I am, that so many more people have been attracted to Pokemon and become part of the community and the hobby. I think a lot of people have joined for the wrong reasons.
Right.
Some for the right reasons. They want to collect cards, they want to relive the childhood. That's amazing. I'm all for that. To some extent, I'm all for the people that want to make a bit of money as well. But for the people that are purely focusing on, scalping, but that's a whole different subject in itself. Let's not get into that. But for the people that are, doing it solely for the money, I think in a year's time, those people, I would hope they're going to disappear.
Right. Yeah.
I think for many reasons. I think first of all they're going to get priced out by the new PSA charges. I think so. Before the podcast, Matthew touched on some of the value charges at PSA once you get your cards back. I think a lot of them are going to get stung big time on that as well.
Yeah, do you guys want to go over that quickly so everyone knows that? Because not everyone who grades cards here.
So Matthew, you are very, very clued up on this.
No, I think let's in layman's terms, to keep it simple, essentially, is that if you send off a card at a certain tier, whether that's through a third party or for yourself, you are that card is supposed to be between or have an upper bound limit of how much that is worth when it comes out the other side graded. If it exceeds that value, then PSA will charge you for that increase in value, essentially to cover insurance and a load of other things. So essentially, if you don't declare the right value of the card, or the card increases whilst it's at PSA, in value, which is happening for a lot of people.
What's happened to you?
Yeah, it happened to me with quite a few cards, which is, it's, like you said before, it's not a terrible problem to have if you can afford it, right? But yeah, essentially it's a charge to make up for the increase in value of the card, either due to the fact that it's been submitted at a lower submission tier level, or just because it's increased in value whilst it's been at PSA. And for Pokemon, that's less of a problem, because although we have seen prices go crazy through the roof, we're still not on anywhere near the same tier as some of the sports cards and stuff that are out there at the moment that can get graded. One of ones, some stupid stuff that's out on the market. But yeah, I think in 12 months' time, the surcharge is a factor that's gonna come into play. A lot of people who aren't clued up on the actual process of grading, and that comes into the next point, which is people sending in stuff. We talk about the junk slab era that might kind of be an extreme, everyone likes to go and explode things out of proportion sometimes.
Seen the comment from Kai Joseph.
Yeah.
What did he say?
He said, Jesus, 14 months I can get a girl pregnant twice and have a kid before I get my card.
That's great. Yeah, I think I just think it's one of those things where you can't see into the future, but the only thing you can do, I think, right now for 12 months is if you can gain an insight into some of these third-party grading services. So Graded Gem, so Z&G, and then obviously the Graded Gem guys over in the UK here. Right. I know Z&G is a lot more transparent. Graded Gem seems to have this kind of whole lockdown on information. They try not to give anything away.
Yeah.
But Z&G was talking, I think, in a video today or yesterday about the amount of between 3 and 7. So we're talking below kind of near mint to excellent grade kind of WotC cards that have gone in over the last 12 months is just absurd.
So people, they're getting their childhood collections. They're saying, "Oh, I've got a Caterpie from base set. Yeah, I'll send that off." And it's.
I think they're buying it as well. I think they're buying them online as well. You've seen in the Facebook groups and stuff, Sam. Some of the stuff that we're in, where it's people will post a collection, and there will be someone waiting there without a second thought, and will just throw money at a collection at market value. So they won't even price it with the idea in mind that there's some discrepancies of condition, the market might move, margin for them to make on the other side. They're almost buying at the market price with a guarantee that they're going to go around and go, I can send all this off to PSA and it will come back and I'll have a 200% markup on everything that I've got. And in 12 months' time, people doing that stuff, they're going to get burnt. Even before these market fluctuations were happening, the increases, that wasn't something that you would have done before anyway. It's a stupid grading technique, and you're never really going to make money doing that anyway. It's just not going to happen.
So I think a big reason for this, I'm not singling this person out, we've already talked about Z&G Emporium. Personally, I like his YouTube channel. It's kind of what got me into the business side of Pokemon and thinking about other things outside of Pokemon, such as the shipping and the taxes and all that kind of stuff. So I wanted to talk about him because his biggest thing was he started with $500 and now can buy booster boxes which are worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. So he turned that 500 into basically his job now is not just Z&G Emporium but also Graded Gem, but he only got Graded Gem because of Z&G Emporium. And a lot of his videos are focused around hey, I bought this collection off of Craigslist, or I went and met this guy from Facebook in a parking lot and gave him this amount of money, and then I've just sent it all to PSA. And when they come back, the valuation of that those cards are now, double, triple, quadruple what they were when I bought them. And I feel as though I have a funny feeling that a lot of people just went, holy shit, I'm going to do the exact same thing. Because in people's heads, they go, okay, a Charizard's worth this amount, but I can buy it for, 10% of the price. I'm just going to go throw it to PSA, and when it comes back, I'm just making I'm printing money at this point. And a lot of people were essentially just buying collections to throw into PSA. And I think that's probably a big reason why PSA is backlogged. I'm not talking about Pokemon, because Pokemon is only, less than 20% of their entire operation. There's a lot of sports cards. But I do think it's something.
Just to clarify.
Yeah.
Sorry, just to clarify. So you're blaming Z and G for the PSA?
No. I doubt he'll ever watch this, but Z, I'm a big fan, man. But no, it's
That's your fault.
But I think when you have the influence that Z and G does, and when people, we're in a time right now, or we were, think about this time last year, how many people were laid off from work? Like a lot of fucking people.
And like the next 12 months as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, I live in a city where, most people are in the service industry or manufacturing industry, and those two are hit fucking hard. And if you have, you have a load of time on your hands now, you go and watch YouTube, and there's a guy telling you, sell your Pokemon collection, and you'll make $10,000, $100,000, however much it is. It's really easy to get like kind of lost in that hype really quickly. And I do believe a lot of people were under that not that spell, but under that assumption that you can just basically print money through Pokemon.
It's confirmation bias, isn't it, though?
Yeah,
like you're saying 100%. It's that snowball. Like everything around you, if it tells you that it's performing well, and there's these kind of huge public figures that are doing exactly the same thing, we don't realize how much like these guys have like things wrapped up. Like there are so many collectors out there that have so much market power that can just squash any of us like bugs. Like if SM Pratt tomorrow wanted to crash, the market on a certain card that he's bought a huge quantity of, he could do that within. We talk about Scream Munch promos. Like I don't even want to think about how many of those things he's got. Like I can guarantee you he has probably hundreds of them, because he's got the capital to buy those, and they've moved up 600-700%, like, and the rest in the last like 6 months. Like, and this is the thing, right? If he wanted to, he could crash the market on that. But anyway, I think I've gone a bit off tangent. When we talk about ZNG, you talk about like he started with $500. What I think is a dangerous kind of narrative that these guys swing is that, and they'll defend themselves to the hills about this stuff, but the accessibility of like vintage cards back then, and because I was buying stuff then as well. Like I was looking around. It's just because I didn't have the capital, because I didn't have a job. I was still at university. I didn't have the money to buy this stuff. They could go out and buy these vintage collections. And it was easy for them. I won't say easy, but it was much more accessible for them to pick them up at these lower price points.
Yeah, for sure.
And if you buy at this entry point in the market, where out of nowhere we're up at 1,000%, of course these guys who have these large holdings in these collections are going to have huge amounts of capital to move around when the market's at this position like it is now. Like it's not comparable to people who started now with $500. It's completely different now.
I feel as though it's a semi-good analogy would be like with Bitcoin. There was plentiful Bitcoin back in 2010, and it cost fucking nothing to get it. You fast forward to today, Bitcoin's worth the 50K plus. The mining for it takes forever. Like finding like a coin, if you're mining for it, takes forever. Just like finding a collection for us would take forever. There's, I think a good saying is when the normies find out, it's a good time to like sell, and that's like similar with Pokemon. Is once everyone is on it, not people like us who are collectors and love Pokemon, but everyday people on the street, your mums, your dads, probably your friends too, have heard on the news. Oh my God, Logan Paul sold $2 million worth of Pokemon cards. Like, hey man, we should go check out our Pokemon cards. Once those people find out, that's generally when the market is too oversaturated for you to like make much money off of. It's very difficult to find those collections which are super minty, super good. Those are long gone now. It's very, very difficult to find it. And it's I think we've kind of hit the peak of finding those collections. You're not going to go on Craigslist or eBay anymore and manage to snag them. Those days are gone. And you've
got to have so much more like fine-tuned knowledge in where values are and stuff now.
Absolutely.
There's a few comments in the chat, by the way, about like Z and stuff. Like, I'm not bashing him, by the way. I love his content and like, he's like, I love how transparent. I'm not saying that he's swinging that narrative of like whole $500 to a fortune. It was easy for him to get like to have that at the start of like this whole boom. What I'm trying to say is that it's dangerous now for people to think that that's like a possible thing to do with like certain vintage collections, and how they can just like go on Facebook Marketplace or whatever and buy a collection and just automatically it will be worth that in 6 months, 12 months time, or they can just flip it straight away, because that stuff is like really easy to come across in a sense at like a inflated market price right now, and you'll never guarantee the conditions. It's just not going to happen.
The only Pokemon cards I can see on Facebook Marketplace at the minute are either scammers or the people that have got their childhood collection and they think that it's worth £1 million.
The markup's crazy. Yeah,
it's insane. I mean, so I was talking to a guy, it was on Monday evening, and he had a PSA 9 staff pre-release Charizard from Evolutions.
And
he was asking £200, and I thought, okay, that's like 1,000 less than what it's going for. I said to him, so I sent him a message. I said, "Oh, can I have a photo of your name and a date next to the PSA card, and then if it's all good, I'll come and collect tomorrow." He blocked me immediately.
So
those days are long gone. Those days
well, that's the thing. Once once something becomes so popular, then comes the troublemakers. There's the people who want the quick money without any honest work. We can all shit on scalpers all day long, and we can shit on people who price something 100% more than what it's worth. But on the face of it, there's way more arseholes out there that do way more bad things, such as literally stealing your money and running off with it. So I think we've kind of done this bit to death, and touching on Z&G just for my own sake. For those of you who don't know who he is a YouTuber I recommend, business related YouTuber, and I was watching his stuff long before I opened my store. My YouTube channel had probably like 80 subs back then, and definitely someone I looked up to, because isn't it all our dreams to do what he does?
Sell a base set box to Logan Paul. Yeah, man.
Yeah,
get me on there.
Exactly. It's so there's a lot of people who dislike him, and I get there's the persona part of it, and I have a few friends who have issues with him, and that's okay. But he does provide very, very good content.
Name and shame, Jebbles. Name and shame the haters. Tom could not stand him, but I think he's a very intelligent guy. You can tell he's a really clever guy.
Yeah, I think he was an accountant for a firm. Really, I actually was a weirdo and looked him up on LinkedIn.
You stalker, mate.
I was like, I want to know what he does, and I did manage to find him, and he is a smart guy.
I want to know where he lives.
He lives in Arizona somewhere. Yeah. I don't know exactly where. not gonna dox him. But yeah, Tojo, what's the next subjects you would like to talk about?
Oh God. Okay. Should we talk a little bit about Logan Paul's break?
Yeah, of course.
Is that something we talk about?
Yeah. Go ahead.
So yeah, I think obviously last weekend was Pokémon Day / anniversary, and we had the three amazing events of the evening, which was the villain cards box break of Remix Bout. No, we had the Post Malone stream, which was outrageous, unbelievable. And then we had the Logan Paul box break, and we had the PWCC auctions rolling. But the Logan Paul box break, obviously, another. We can't stress enough, like, when someone breaks a first ed bot, like, it is monumental. Like, it's a ridiculous, like, event that I feel sometimes gets thrown a little bit, like, under the rug. Like, it's because first ed has been thrown around so much recently, like, people kind of blasé just say, like, first ed box break. But it is so huge. And, like, this guy has managed to acquire 6 booster boxes. He did the first break of his second break, but his first break of the 6 boxes. We don't really know what he's going to do with the other 5 at the moment. He opened them up, got 2 Charizards. It was actually the box from TCA, TCA Gaming, another amazing YouTube channel. I recommend any of you guys haven't seen his channel, go and check that out. But yeah, he went in, checked out the packs because he was worried about it being resealed, and essentially authenticated the box by resealing it and assigning it. So Logan Paul obviously bought that box off him, and then went and cracked that for his first box break because probably because it was the least kind of sealed proper, like, unit of the 6 boxes that he had. Pulled 2 Charizards. It was full of kind of crypto investors, NFT nonsense. I should try and stay kind of away from that stuff.
I did want to talk about the NFT, but we could do that. We can do that at the end.
Okay, but yeah, so he obviously cracked the 36 packs. Packs went for an average of like 36k, was it, Jebbles? Does anyone know the number that it was?
39. It was 39,000 and something each, I think. Let me check.
Yeah, it was absolutely mental.
39,000.
His last average. For context, were like 11k, weren't they? Like 11k or 12k.
Yeah. Crazy markup. The fact that he bought all 6 for 2 million and made 1.4 million off of 1, that means he has 5 boxes to make the remaining 600k off of. Like, he could basically. It's impossible to really think about the power that Logan Paul has.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
how many do you think are still in circulation?
That's something I did want to touch upon, is the fact that we don't know how many booster boxes are still around.
And like, if anyone knew, they wouldn't say.
We could have someone who has said nothing, because the number one thing my professor always said to me in class is that if you ever come across money, don't ever tell anyone. And if you are sitting on a mountain of Pokemon booster boxes, Wizards of the Coast, you would tell absolutely nobody about it, because there would be stupid people who would quickly be like telling the world that, I'm sitting on a mountain of booster boxes, and that's one way to get robbed, and also another way for a disaster to happen,
etc.
But we also need to like take into account that there's probably a lot of people out there, whether it's stores, whether it's investment firms, who have tons of booster boxes, or potentially could have tons of booster boxes ready to release on the market at any given time, or alternatively release them slowly so they get that maximum amount of cash as we go along. And that's the thing that I always have trouble with Pokemon, is they never tell you. Well, this goes far to like even Shining Fates. We don't know how many like Shining Fates are printed. We don't know how many Champions Path were printed. Like, this goes on for a long been going on for a long time. Pokemon doesn't release how rare a set is or how rare a box is. And then to think about that 25 years in the past, we still, we'll never know how many are in circulation. So that's something we all have to keep in mind, is, those probably aren't the only 6 booster boxes available. We know that for a fact, but you also have to keep in mind that there might be people keeping it very, very quiet.
Well, this is it. And every time, Logan Paul cracks one of those boxes, the price of all the others is shooting up. I mean, there's a part in the video where he's talking to a guy on the phone, and the bloke says, "Oh, it's 400,000," and Logan says, "Well, last time it was 200."
So what do you want him to do? Yeah,
but he says, "This is your fault. You've done this."
Yeah. I think that with the number of boxes, like, so all of the boxes that, I think 4 out of the 5 boxes that Logan bought, I knew. I don't know the collectors, obviously, but following collectors for a long time, I knew that those people had those boxes. So when I saw the TCA seal, I was like, oh, that's TCA's box. I know where that came from. And then you see like the Pokedew come in, and you're like, okay, I know who this dude is. And then you've got like collectors cash in the States. The guys who have obviously been doing crazy stuff with like Steve Aoki and stuff recently. Like these are all names that people knew. So when we talk about him buying boxes, they're boxes that most people kind of quote unquote knew about.
Right.
But if we talk about the closed boxes, like how many are in circulation, I'm just going to keep plugging channels because this is all I do in my spare time now, right? Is to just listen to Pokemon podcasts and stupid shit like that. But PokeRadar has just started a new podcast with King Pokemon, so Gary from Pawn Stars.
Right, yeah.
Who has obviously one of the biggest positions in the market in Charizards and probably sealed products. I'm not quite sure on his sealed market sealed product position, but they speculated on how many. So if you guys want to know about like who's actually, who has the most who's clued up to know what that number is, even they were like, yeah, I don't know, maybe like 100
to tell,
something like that. And even if they did know, I would put a lot of money. I'd probably put my whole collection on them never actually saying it.
Yeah.
Like why would they let anyone know? It's not in their best interest.
There'll be also one person, or there'll be a multitude of people who will want to have the last ever first edition Pokemon box, right? There's going to be people out there who are never going to sell it because they might just be like, this is the last one in existence. And there could be a point in time where we come across like the literal holy grail, which would be a first edition booster box, one of its kind.
Until the next one comes out the cracks.
Right. And then that's the issue, is that you can there's always not always, but there probably most likely is always going to be another booster box at some point coming along. I think now more than ever is the time where I've realized like, wow, like loads of people have first edition booster boxes. Like it feels like they're just popping out everywhere. Like every other like big YouTuber seems to have one.
That's a really good point. Where are they coming from?
Like it's weird, right? Because if you think about it, if you just watch PokeRev's channel, and I don't ever watch him really because for me, I don't
know. It's just like slagging off my British accent the way I say porn, like Gary from Pawn Stars. Sorry, carry on, Jibbles.
I forgot what I was gonna say.
You talk about PokeRev.
Yeah, PokeRev. So like I don't want to get desensitized from Pokemon, vintage Pokemon. And therefore that's why I do not watch PokeRev. I do not watch what's his name? Leonhardt. I don't watch Logan Paul's breaks, and I know I watch Z&G Emporium, but that's different because he's selling the packs. He doesn't really open them. I know he has like a Tuesday opening now, but I don't watch those. I just feel desensitized watching those because people are breaking them like it's fucking like there's a million of them. Like PokeRef just like does a live like every other day and is like, oh yeah, like let's just open like an ADV series and let's do a Diamond and Pearl series. Like it's fucking nothing. And like there's me over here saying like I've never touched a vintage booster box in my life. Like, I don't want to be desensitized, but also there's so many people in this market who have so much buying power and connections that can just like get these boxes like they're nothing. Yeah. Yeah, it's just mad. Yeah, I just wanted to quickly say that.
Yeah, I think with when we talk about like that whole desensitized, like try and bring it back to the Logan Paul stuff, like that was one thing that I really, really felt when I watched the stream. Like I remember when Rev opened up his first ed base box and I was watching that live on my TV and Laura was actually watching it with me and she could just like feel like this energy like radiating off me. Like I was like so excited to see this like incredible event. Like at that point it felt like a once in a lifetime thing. Like, oh my god, someone's gonna open a first edition like base box. Like what the hell? Like this is you don't really ever see this, especially at the kind of production level that like PokeRev could bring. Like it was an entertainment extravaganza. How long was it? It was like mid last year, I think it was, or early last year. Don't quote me on that. It was last year at some point. but there was like this in between time between that and then the Logan Paul break, where this was like the next public sale of the box, or the next public break.
Yeah.
And then we've had like again this short period of time where he's like, oh, I've just casually spent 2 million. I'm going to be cracking this one again, and then we'll do whatever with these other ones. And we see so much more exposure to the market that it does kind of make you feel a little bit like fatigued with all of it. And
yeah,
you
I feel that way 100%.
You feel like
Bit of overkill.
the actual rarity is like completely stripped of it because you see so much of it. It's like this. People really do need to honestly understand. Like Logan Paul has just bought like these products are
$2 million.
obviously, yeah, like it's so much money. It's so
100%.
much money, and these things that they're gonna. He bought those knowing that they were going to be, it was going to be a 5x easy, like minimum on those boxes. Yeah, his marketing team and the people around him who manage what he's doing.
Let's be honest, but...
Yeah, he's got a few
touching on Logan Paul and his sales technique. We all know. Well, personally, I would never value a first edition booster pack at $39,000. Just personally, I don't believe it's worth that much. So, do you believe that he's like basically fleecing people out of money at this point?
Nah.
No?
They went up to auction. I mean, people will pay.
Right.
It's exactly like the Shining Fates ETB scalpers. People over here are charging up to £100 a box, but they're £45 at retail. If people are paying £100 a box, then that's the price.
Right.
Well, I think that's kind of difficult because it's the price for his break and all of the things that come with it. It's not, you aren't, again, like he said, fair play to him, like he did come out with a statement and say, you're not just buying the pack. And for me, the price of what they were doing, again, just like with the last break, where there was several $1,000s of that 11,000 price tag that went towards the whole like shout out. And you go to content creators like Randolph, you go to the other guys like Graded Gem who bought a pack as well. They all knew that they were going to make money back from the content and stuff that they could create from this. Exactly. And I think this time round, I genuinely believe we're looking at a 20,000 of that near 40 grand price tag is basically crypto and big like crypto powerhouses pulling people from the Pokemon market into crypto investments. And like they're paying that money because it sounds extreme again. I could talk about blowing things out of proportion, but trying to like prey on people who are young to invest in games and are maybe a little bit like naive and delusional towards certain like financial concepts, and they'll just go all in and they're like, oh, look at this 40k thing, and then they'll hear the shout out, and then like crypto's the next big thing, we've got NFTs, this, that, and the other. That's part of the price tag, and these guys have big money. Like so 40k to them is nothing.
What do they get for that price? Obviously they get the pack, they get obviously the
shout out,
they get the NFT.
Did they get the NFT as part of the purchase? Did each pack person get an NFT?
I don't know. I know he made $800,000 off of NFTs though.
And they crashed, right? I think there was one point where like one of them was buying for an Ethereum, and then it was down at like 0.2 of an Ethereum within the live stream or something.
So I fucking hated this. I hated this. I hated this from before. As soon as it was announced, I put on my story, I said, you're a fucking idiot. And I'm sorry, but you're an idiot if you buy an NFT. Because, I spent too much time probably looking at the stock market and crypto and talking to my professors about it and everything. And I would never touch anything a celebrity puts out. No matter how popular this celebrity is, just don't fucking touch it, because it's not worth it. If you think that a fake Pokemon card, just think about this. You're getting a Pokemon card that is not even, that you can't even hold. It's digital. Who the fuck wants a digital card they can't hold? Like, I would have to show you on my phone. Look how cool this Logan Paul thing is. Like, it's not worth it. And people were paying $15K, up to $15K for one. The cheapest one was $300, and then I think it went up to $1,000. And I think there was a couple at $10,000, and there was 3 available at $15,000. Like, this is just absurd use of money. Like, you have way too much money if you're buying a fucking Logan Paul Pokemon card. And this is not against Logan Paul, because he's a great salesman, great entertainer, all of that stuff, okay? This is just against people who have way too much money on their hands. I blame the people rather than Logan, because it makes no financial sense. The value of those cards are not going to go up. Like, this is what happened. It was here and it just went whoosh. Like, who the fuck is going to buy that from you? There's no trade value in it. Even if Logan Paul became president, I don't think it would go to original 15K. Like, it's
and that's plausible right now, right? I mean, like, way that we're going.
It's just, yeah. I just really think people who buy into there's cryptocurrencies which are good, which are like Ethereum and Bitcoin, and there's things called shitcoins, and I'd put an NFT underneath like a shitcoin.
Dogecoin.
Like, it's just total dog shit. It's worth nothing. Just because Logan Paul sells it at a value doesn't mean it's worth that value. If I can sell an apple at $10,000, doesn't mean it's worth $10,000. It means it's probably 10 cents, right?
There's something in the chat actually which is interesting. So David Kim says the same logic applies to cardboard, and I kind of we're going solo here, Sam. So I think yeah. I think the difference when we talk about a card in comparison to, say, like an NFT, like, we always which is the same reason why there's a disparity between when people talk about like trading stocks and shares and like crypto digital currency or digital assets, is that when something is more quantifiable to someone, when they can physically or they can have some kind of like quantifiable relation to that product, there will always be a stronger pull towards that. And so when we talk about like an NFT in comparison to a physical piece of cardboard, like a something physical in your hand that you can hold, in my opinion, there's no comparison there. And so I understand, like, maybe he's trying to play devil's advocate. Like, it is an interesting point to make. Like, obviously, both of these are speculative assets, like 100%. Like, tomorrow, my base set Charizard could be worth nothing because no one wants them. Understand, like, that value is completely internalized to the market and what people want to pay. But an NFT, like a literal like address in the blockchain that is like something that someone can like just take a screenshot of, and like the only thing that you own is like kind of like the original address of like where that thing lives. It just doesn't make sense to me, and it just seems like when we talk about like the people who are buying these things, like it comes into like the category of like just like Jebel's talking about, like just dumb money, like people just paying it just because they can.
Yeah. Or
it's people paying it with an external like motive behind it. So we have no idea behind like the people who buy certain packs, buy certain cards. I mean, it happens. Market manipulation happens within Pokemon all the time as well. You know, we talk about even at a base level like shield bidding and stuff like that. So when we go into even more like speculative assets like NFTs, cryptocurrency, stuff like that, man, I will just I'm keeping my hands completely clean of that stuff. Like, I know Pokemon, I know the market. And when Logan Paul decided to combine those two things, it was an immediate red flag to me, like of the like kind of genuine aspect of the stream and like the event itself. It caused like a massive dampener, and throughout the stream, it was pretty apparent that like all the shout outs were like, "Hey, make millions of dollars, trade on this platform with these people." This, and it was just like, it's so dead. Yeah. Like it's so shit, isn't it? It's like so soulless.
Yeah, I mean, someone in the chat, David says the same logic applies to cardboard when you're talking about.
Yeah, that's what what I was just talking about. Yeah,
I think when you have something as popular as Pokemon, so the most decorated franchise, the biggest franchise in the world, it's incomparable to Logan Paul putting out 200 NFTs, which yeah. And I feel as though it was people who just didn't have so much money to spend or just too big a fan that they didn't realize what NFTs are, because you just have to research it. NFTs are not a big thing. It's not really part of cryptocurrency. It's similar. It uses blockchain and all that kind of stuff, but it's not actually a cryptocurrency. So it's very dangerous, and I think If I was Logan Paul, I would have never done it just because it's a very dangerous thing to put out your own cryptocurrency or NFT, because there's nothing behind it to make it tangible. Most cryptocurrencies have a use, have a purpose, are there for something. There's some shit ones like Dogecoin, which is a meme, but most have, an actual purpose to them. And this simply was a Pokemon card with his face on it, which to me and most people don't think is good. But yeah, go ahead.
Are we talking about NFTs in general or NFTs from the Logan Paul box?
I'm just talking about Logan Paul. I have no idea. I've never heard of any other NFTs right now. I just don't think they're popular.
It's like NFT artwork.
Yeah, it's artwork, but I've never fucking heard of it until Logan Paul came around.
I think the thing we need to think about as well is, you go back quite a few years. When we first saw Bitcoin, it was worth pennies. It was worth half of pennies. It was worth
like a pizza, right?
It was worth nothing. Look at it now.
But to fight that with Bitcoin, there's a very clear reason behind it. It's to basically fight the banks, to take money away from the government and the banks and give it back to the people, and it's much more secure, and you don't have to give the government your banking information. It's a secure wallet, nobody can hack it, blah 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 blah. With this, where's the good to humanity? Where's the good to anyone with this is what my question would be. Because with Bitcoin, it's very clear. Whether you're into Bitcoin, whether you hate it, whether you like it, there's a very clear white paper why it was created by its founder and everything. But with an NFT, just like A Cortez in the chat says, it's a JPEG. It's a
JPEG. I like that.
It's not. He basically was selling his name. And I have a funny feeling we're going to go down the same road where he's going to make other unique ones. And, if you could sell something and make 800K off of it, would you? Most people would say yes.
Yeah. I mean,
it's an easy 800K.
Of course.
There's also there was something around some basketball cards or something recently that did a very, very similar thing where if you pull a specific card, you then get the highlight of the that play in NBA history.
Right.
So people will own supposedly the NFT or that kind of or similar highlight video of that sporting event essentially, or sporting highlight. And it's one of those things where that doesn't provide any actual value to the person who owns that thing. The NBA still own the publishing rights to that highlight. You don't get any royalties or anything from that. You've just been given the way I see it, it's just a memory address. It's literally someone just giving you a file on a USB stick and going, there you go, mate, that's yours. But it's still on YouTube everywhere, and it's still somebody else actually owns the video. It's just so stupid. And I could, we could be wrong. Like Sam said, people speculated around Bitcoin, etc. But
Ethereum, and that's shot up as well.
Yeah, I think in principle, this is something different. And I think the nicheness of just a Logan Paul Pokemon card, digital Pokemon card, doesn't have anywhere near enough of a pull to even justify a future increase. An actual piece of art that is interesting and actually has some value, art just does generally in real life. It's a thing, right? Obviously Pokemon cards are a thing, but they're a lot more speculative. We're talking about established collectibles, established pieces of art in real life, established currencies, established stocks and shares. These are all completely different things in a separate bubble compared to Logan Paul slapping his face on a JPEG, as A Cortez put in the chat. Exactly. Yeah. So
I think so. Is it true that with the break you got a special PSA slab as well?
If you graded the card with PSA and it got a 10, then it would get a special event certification or little tidbit on it saying Logan Paul break on it. But I think it was only if it was a 10.
Okay.
Which automatically smells fishy as fuck to me, if you ask me. It'll get the thing, but only if it gets a 10. It's God, like why wouldn't you just slap it on all of them? Like it just seems ridiculous. But yeah,
yeah, is that something that you'd be keen to collect? A PSA 10
nah,
Logan Paul box break?
nah, fuck that. I'd crack the thing and send it straight back in. Like why the fuck do I want that? Like in my opinion on the whole Logan Paul thing, we're only seeing the surface of what he's doing with his collecting, and everything that I see publicly, I see as a publicity stunt, and it's something for him and his brand and for his public identity to move in a better direction to where it's been going in the last 2-3 years. So yeah, exactly. So when we talk about like an actual value addition to a PSA graded card, like that just doesn't feel like it has any like future potential at all. Like he's going to be like, social media is so volatile. It's cutthroat, man. Like these people will be internet celebrities, the next big thing 1 minute, and then 2 weeks later they'll get cancelled and they're absolute nobody. Logan Paul could disappear off the face of the earth. He could cash in on six base set booster boxes the next thing you know, mate, and he's gone and he's never coming back. He doesn't give a shit about Pokemon. For all we care, he could do a little prank video and throw them all in his pool and just he could do anything, right? So why the hell would I want his name attached to a collectible when I can just go, oh, this gives a reason for somebody to not buy this? Like, so why would that be a thing? And I think it's also part of the brand that's attached to him. Like, I just don't like him.
100%.
So you're already biased to that point. Like, maybe like an Aoki signed card, or like that's cool because he's got a cool signature and he's an interesting public figure. But I still wouldn't want that. Like, it still doesn't have enough pull.
I just feel like when you getting something like that, when they have no affinity to Pokemon, like it's something totally different getting it from someone like a Rita, like an artist, like someone who works for the Pokemon company. Like those are the only cards I would get signed. That's like me going up to David Beckham and being like, hey, want to sign my fucking Pokemon card? Like it makes no sense. Just because like if I got David Beckham to open a booster pack for
I'd
me,
rather have that, by the way. I would definitely rather have
that. But it's the same. It's the same thing. It's just like, okay, Logan Paul likes Pokemon, like big fucking deal, right? Nobody cares. Like I do not get it personally. But yeah, I think we've done the Logan Paul thing to death here. One other thing you did touch on, Tojo, was or I think you did, was the release or the news that we're getting the remakes of Diamond and Pearl. I want to talk to you guys about not just the game itself. I do think we'll touch on that, but also the impact it's going to have on the TCG. Are we going to see a price rise in the Diamond and Pearl cards? Because personally, Diamond and Pearl is one of like the forgotten eras of Pokemon, where those Pokemon cards are, I wouldn't say dirt cheap, but for a vintage era, definitely something you guys should be looking at. And this is not like financial advice, blah blah blah. I just you're gonna want to look at those cards before November, December, January, whenever that video game does come out. So yeah, what are your thoughts, guys?
So I mean, I've noticed already that the price increases on the sword product in Japan of Diamond and Pearl. I looked at getting quite a few booster packs from Diamond and Pearl base. I think it's called Space.
Just say DP. Just say DP1, mate. It's the easiest way to go with Japanese sets.
I looked at importing some over, and I've already been priced out. I'm way too slow on that, to be honest. I think we're going to see some major price rises. I mean, Diamond and Pearl is definitely quite overlooked, 100%. I do think they introduced some pretty cool things. Obviously, you've got some new evolutions as well, like Glaceon, Leafeon. I think those cards are going to shoot up, and people love evolutions anyway.
Yeah.
I actually had a couple of Leafeon cards on my eBay store. They've been on there for about 3 months, and literally the day after the Pokemon 25th anniversary video, they've gone.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I have a similar story actually. on my website, I had 6 or 7 booster packs, Diamond and Pearl booster packs. I think I'd bought like 14 altogether. Some people absolutely loved them because they have the Glaceon and Leafeon artwork on them, and another one had the Arceus artwork on them. And literally 30 minutes afterwards, all 7 were gone. Some guy bought 4 of them, another guy bought 2 of them, and another person bought 1 of them. And one of them messaged me and said, I bought these just after because I know the prices are going to increase, and I didn't want to see the price increase, so I was buying them now. So some people 30 minutes afterwards basically making market moves right there. I think what we're going to see is, we saw that hot news come out, and for the next week it was kind of like people were buying stuff. Then we're going to see a little bit of a gap now where people kind of forget that Diamond and Pearl is coming out. Not forget, but it's not going to be on the top of their minds with all these, Eevee Heroes coming out, the Double Fighter coming out. There's so much Pokemon news coming out. But I think as we go towards that December, kind of the winter time, we're going to see a huge spike in price. And that is, before that, summertime is when I'm going to be buying heaps of the stuff, before, price hikes just go through the roof, because some of those booster packs are so affordable in Japan, like $30, $40 for a vintage booster pack.
Cheaper in bulk.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And, in the USA, they're selling for over $100. So, Japan's going to be getting raided, by booster packs. But yeah, definitely something to keep an eye on, because I do think, especially Pokemon Legends, is going to make not history, but it's definitely going to maybe change the way we see Pokemon games in the future, or that genre of Pokemon games, the open world, kind of like RPG game. And I think that's something that we've all been wanting. We're all enclosed in this pixelated 8-bit kind of game, and we all love that. And I never want to. I'm always gonna miss that those days where I was a kid playing Ruby and Sapphire. But I think, as we've gotten older, these, RPG open world games are something we all really, really wanted from Pokemon, and we're finally getting it, and that's super cool. Like, same with Star Wars. Star Wars is getting an RPG game, something I'm gonna be super into. Like, ever since kind of like GTA came out, when you have the open world RPG with a storyline, it's been like the creme de la creme of like video games, and I'm really, really excited to see what Pokemon do with this. There's really been not that many leaks about it, like footage wise. We did see a little bit, but that it was pretty much the bare minimum. So I'm really excited. What's your guys' thoughts on the games?
Oh, I love the split that they're taking. For me, I felt Sword and Shield was just like a huge, just middle ground that just didn't know what it was. For me, like, I grew up on obviously the original Pokemon games. Well, my entrance was like late Gold, Silver, so Gen 2, and then Gen 3 was like the first entry point just because of my age. So like pixel based kind of square grid kind of just, that is Pokemon to me. And so when you lose the kind of pixel art aspects, it loses a lot of its soul for me. So when they looked to go down the Sword and Shield route, I felt that there wasn't really like the identity of like Pokemon has just kind of been lost in some of the games. So when they have split these out now, where they kind of are taking a stance where it's like these Diamond and Pearl remakes are in this like really cute chibi style, which is true to a lot of like Japanese kind of like culture, which is really cool, but that's also cool. Maintains that kind of the kind of square grid implementation of the original games. It stays true to it, but kind of pumps it up a little bit. It gives me the same vibes of what they did with Heart Gold and Soul Silver, where they amped everything up, but they kept the kind of soul of the game still intact. Right. And so when they have the kind of mainline series of that throwback and they keep the core there, but then they've got this side project that is something new and takes maybe 100%. Half of what Sword and Shield tried to be, but hone in on it, and they do a good job. I'm really excited to see what they do with these two projects, and I'm really glad that they've split them out into separate identities, and I hope that they keep going down that route in the future.
Yeah, because I don't think you'd want to sacrifice one for the other, right? You wouldn't want to get rid of one to satisfy the other. and I think that's something that is going to be really awesome. I'd really like it if they actually kind of like release two, so there's always going to be like one, pixelated 8-bit, vintage looking one, and then the RPG kind of one. My dream has always been to have like an MMO RPG, so a massive online world where we could all be together, catching together. That'd be super cool, but I feel like that's in the distant future for now anyways, just by the rate at the Pokemon. I think the Pokemon company just squeeze out as much money as they can. They could easily make that game, but they're not going to do it because they'd be like, well, what's next?
Yeah. What did you play the Gen 4 games and stuff, Sam?
So for me, I mean, my childhood was red, blue, yellow, gold, silver, crystal, ruby, sapphire, emerald, diamond and pearl, the whole shebang.
Yeah.
There's something about the 8-bit style, of choosing that Charmander in Professor Oak's lab, and when you break that game down to its core, it's so simple, but at the same time, the nostalgia and just the heart behind that game is just next level. Diamond and Pearl, I really, really enjoyed. I think for me, I stopped enjoying it around about Black and White. That's when I kind of threw in the towel. And you touched on Sword and Shield briefly. I think what Sword and Shield tried to do was brilliant. What it actually achieved was pretty piss poor. I mean, as soon as I beat the 8th gym leader and done the Elite Four, I expected to be thrown into this giant open world in the wild zone and doing my thing, and it's just boring. It's just really, really, really boring. There's a lot of hand holding. It felt too easy.
Oh, God, yeah.
One thing I hated was the whole XP share as well.
Yeah, it's they've got no excuse for that shit either, do they? Like, let's be honest.
It was like a game made for 5-year-olds. Like, seriously, the hand holding was insane.
I don't think I had a Pokemon knocked out. I didn't use a single revive until the champion, which and also the dial-up of the difficulty between the rest of the game up to the point where you fight Leon is just absurd. Like, you cruise everything and then you just get to his battle and it's like, oh God, this is what Pokemon actually used to feel like at the point of the champion. I feel as though
that like Pokemon should have two settings. The setting for like, if you're there to see the scenery and catch Pokemon and like just have like a good old time, and then there should be like the option where, I think I put in our group chat, when I was playing fucking like Pokemon Yellow and you had Pikachu against a rock gym, like, first of all, like, electric type doesn't even affect rock, so it was like impossible to do, and you'd have to get Pikachu to level like 20 using tackle on a not effective Onix. Like, it was impossible. And I really like, although
and evolve it to a Butterfree.
Yeah, but that took forever. Like it just took 10. It took ages, and I hated it at the time, but I miss having to grind your Pokemon before going to the next gym. This one was like, you didn't grind at all. It was like, onto the next one, onto the next one, onto the next one, onto the next one, onto the next one. It was like done. And also like the story behind it was a bit meh too. It was just not very fulfilling, I feel like. And I don't know. To me, it was a bit cringe. I don't like using that word, but to me, I was like, like a couple times.
Yeah,
it wasn't.
It didn't feel right.
Yeah, it didn't feel right. But yeah, hopefully it was a wake up call for them, though. That they're not gonna be able to put out shit games. Not saying Sword and Shield is necessary shit. There's a lot of really good stuff in it. It just felt to me like it wasn't a Pokemon game. And that might be because I stopped in Gen 3 playing the Pokemon games because I moved to the Middle East and we couldn't get them there. And then I went to university and I didn't really have time to play them. So this is like my first time back since Gen 3. So maybe like the transition for other people who played Black and White, XY, Sun and Moon, and now Sword and Shield, the jump isn't as big. They've maybe been gradually doing it. But for me, who left Gen 3, came back now, is like, I was like, wow, this is not how I expected a Pokemon game to be.
What was the reason you dropped off at like Black and White era, Sam? Because I reversed that game to have some of the best pixel work in Pokemon ever, and also some of the best music and one of the most kind of interesting and diverse storylines of any of the Pokemon games. But it was quite far afield from what we were used to. But what was it for you that kind of?
I think for me, and I sound quite old and boring. For me, it was genuinely lack of creativity with the Pokemon themselves.
Yeah, I'd say the Dex actually is one of the weakest. Like those fucking Vanillux line, the stupid ice creams and shit like that. Like what? Like, yeah.
I think the worst one for me is like, I mean, it's not from Black and White, but it's got to be something like Garbodor or something like that. It's literally a bag of rubbish.
He was
Trubbish.
He was Black and White, wasn't he? I'm pretty sure he was Black and White, right? Or am I?
Garbodor,
Oh, is he X and Y? I can't remember. Someone in chat will probably correct me in a second. But
go back, and there's really simple Pokemon in Gen 1, like Ditto, who's like a pile of pink smegma. You got Magnemite, which is just a metal ball.
Yeah.
Mark is just a pile of, purple smegma. But the thing is, they had heart. They had some heart. At least it feels to me like they had heart. And I don't know if that's nostalgia or is that...
I think I think a lot of it is the art directors as well. During that time, they if you look at the hiring in Game Freak, obviously you can go as deep as you want with this stuff, but they hired a lot of art directors. They upped it, and I mean, if you look at the team size that made, like, say, Gold and Silver and what they achieved there with the whole, like, you've seen the thing where they've managed to, like, cram in the guy who they brought in to optimize Gold and Silver, who worked on the original games, optimized it so much that he just was like, oh yeah, I've also waxed like Kanto in at the end here for you, and everyone was just like what the
game's over. You beat the and oh my god,
and you get to play it all over again. It's like you played Red and Blue, and then you go back, and it's like, oh shit, I get to go back, but I get to go back when everyone's team is like juiced up to the max, right? And you get to see Blue again. Yeah, and Red and Mount Silver. Yeah, like so good. So good, but you just don't. I don't feel you get that level of like connection anymore with any of the characters and stuff like that. It's very it feels washed out, and maybe that is nostalgia talking. I don't know.
I think it could be.
Yeah, but yeah, I think when we talk about like the card prices, we come back to the like the movement on price for Diamond and Pearl era cards. I think the thing that surprises me most about this stuff is that people like wait like right up until say like this conference to like buy your stock out, Jebel. Like it was very public knowledge that this stuff was going to move. Say like the remakes were rumored to come, and it made every bit of sense that they were going to get released. So like we have this stuff happen all the time in the market. Like when we talk about investing and selling like Pokemon cards, like I can list off like like say 10, 15 different like types of card sets that people were talking about that were definitely a much lower price point than they probably should have been, that anyone can just walk in and go, like, I don't know, like Caller Legends, things like that. Like those were like £30 a pack, and they had literal like shiny legendary Pokemon in with hollow borders. They were crazy, off the chain, and like nobody was buying these packs. Like they're incredibly low print. But it was up until the point where, like, say, 2 months ago, where PokeRev announces a box break at $400 a pack, Randolph's opening them and paying £250, £300 a pack for people to go, oh, I'm gonna buy that now. And it's like, I'm sitting there going, man, I bought these packs for £30, £40, like less than 12 months ago, like each. Yeah, you can buy them off me for $250 all day. I don't care if they're going to go to the moon or not. I just don't understand why they wait, and it's the same thing for Diamond and Pearl. It's like Black and White now. We can guarantee in a couple of years' time, Black and White will do exactly the same thing. Yeah, so why aren't people going out there
and like
FOMO. Just buy it now. Yep. If you're that confident, don't overpay at the FOMO curve.
Yeah, exactly.
Do the research. Make sure you know you're confident in what you're doing. And if you're not confident in what you're doing, it shows that you need to go away and like actually do some research or think about like why you're making certain decisions, because I wouldn't be buying, Diamond and Pearl sealed products like right now. I'd have been doing it over the last 6 months, which is exactly what we've done. I've got a drawer full of first edition Diamond and Pearl era hollows, level X's, ready to go for when the boom goes. Like Villain's been buying them as well for the last 2 months.
Yeah.
Like, just why do people wait? I just don't get it.
Yeah, I think that's a big issue, and like I've noticed it heavily since I opened my store. So I think a great example was the Kanazawa Pikachu. So those that were in the know kind of knew how limited these were, why they were released, all that kind of stuff. And so I got them in a pretty big bulk. I had over 100 of them probably over the course of like 2 months. And then I'd get like messages in like maybe 2 or 3 weeks later after I've sold out. And they'd be like, are you getting any more in? And I'm like, you're only asking me because you've seen the prices on eBay. Like, people only tend to ask me, have I got this in, because they're seeing it like really high on eBay, and they see the price that it was when it was in my store. It was like $20. Now it's like at 80, and now it's like, I don't even know how much it is now. Like, people, we really need to, like, not we, but like we as a community, all you guys who are watching this, don't wait until the price starts rising. There's many times in Tojo's videos and my videos and Sam's podcast and Arbuck's videos and ZNG's videos where we kind of say, where we notice as sellers that we see like more people coming in and buying it. So for example, a good one was not that long ago was the Cocoa promos or the Honey promos. Those came out with the Rapid Strike and Single Strike Master. They're relatively affordable right now, $40, $50. If you ask me in like 3 or 4 months' time, where I expect them to be probably over $100. Because, once it gets to the $100 mark, then everyone's going to be asking me, hey, Daniel, are you going to be getting more of these in? And there's going to be absolutely not. I don't get stuff in that's expensive. I get it in when it's first released, so I can get as much of it to as many people as I can. And then once it hits that like hype threshold where it's really difficult to get but really expensive, I don't get it in anymore. It's not that I can't get it in. It's because I won't get it in. I won't spend that money getting something that's $100 that was $20. I could get 5 cards and I can only get one of them. It makes no like financial sense as a seller, and it doesn't make any sense for you guys, because if it's $100 for me to get it, it's like $115 for me to then give it to you guys on top of like shipping and taxes and all that kind of stuff. So we really need to, like, as a community, you guys listening, you guys watching, to really take like note of when things are going up and down, whether that's on eBay, whether that's on a YouTuber's videos. Don't always listen to a YouTuber. Use the information they give you. Go research it and see if that's what's actually happening, because there are some YouTubers that will try influence you into buying stuff. But yeah, very, very, very good point, Tojo. I did definitely agree with you in terms of that.
I think the feeling is like, if you feel like you're chasing, if you're like on the back foot, right, you're already in, from my perspective anyway, if you want to be a sound like investor, if you want to make big margins on cards, if you want to try and be like these big investors, if you feel that back foot feeling, then in my opinion you're already in the wrong like place to start with. I make most of my money in like over not just the last year, but over the last 5-6 years has always been where you have something and you're like, oh shit, like I completely forgot I even had this and forgot about it. Right. And I was like, I know why I bought it all that time ago. And half the time you won't even need to spend that much money and lock that much capital into assets like that, because they won't even have appreciated by that point. Yeah. So like, make those decisions as early as you can, guys, and kind of make sure that you can kind of have a sound reasoning behind the purchase, other than just like, oh, I've seen this person like buy it. And it's not about kind of, I'm not saying those decisions are bad. Like you can make plenty of money off the hype. Like there's no doubt about it. Yeah. But it's trying to give people the right tools to understand like how to kind of step it up and learn from the mistakes that like I've made and other people have made. That's kind of the key takeaway, really.
There have been so many things that I've missed. So there've been so many opportunities where I've had a chance to buy. I was talking earlier about the base art set. It was £500 for a full base art set, fresh from a box break. I didn't get it. And now I wish I would have done. I had a chance to get a case of Tag Team All Stars for like, it worked out like £25 a box. I didn't. Now I've gone and bought quite a few of them, but right, I could have got them cheaper. And I'm learning now, as I'm starting to build a bit of capital and learn more about the hobby, and I'm learning that you need to take these chances when you get them.
If you're confident, you knew at that point that Tag was a great set. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I think we're talking about FOMO right now, but I think the reverse is also very, very much needed to talk about, because let's look at Champions Path, for example. We're all shitting ourselves over whether we could get an ETB. And I'm talking from a US perspective. I'm not sure what it's like in the UK for you guys, in Europe, wherever you guys are.
Mate, don't worry. Yeah.
So it was really, really fucking difficult. It took me like 3 weeks to find one. And it was like in the back of a bookstore called Barnes & Noble. And I found one. But now, if you go to Target or Walmart, you can find them every day of the week. Now, we bought into the hype, in America anyway, that, you know, we're not going to fucking get these. Like, you have to go and buy as many as you can because we're never going to find Champions Path. Champions Path is stuck on the shelves now in, like, my Walmarts and Targets.
That's pretty amazing.
Like,
Over
it's
here,
it's
you can't get hold of it.
So I think, so there's two parts to this. I think one is this shows the distribution chain in Pokemon is absolutely fucked, that you guys can't get it, and that you guys are always so basically underfunded when it comes to Pokemon, in terms of, you know, products and releases and being late with releases and things being overpriced, because I know in the UK things are way more expensive than they are in the US, and I know there's a disparity in the currency, like there's an exchange rate difference, but not that much. There's not so much that you guys should be paying. Fucking £65 is what it's on Total Cards, right? £65. That's like
no, 70, mate.
£70 is like what, $85, $90. I can go down to Target and get it for like $45, $50. Like it's ridiculous.
Total Cards is a big retailer, so there's a lot of weight that gets pulled with that. Like,
right,
they're at the forefront. Like, they gain a lot of attention. There are retailers out there and smaller stores that do have it for accessible price points.
Right.
Like, you know, that it does exist. It's just so fucking hard to find it. Like, and it's
still going to be more than retail price.
Yeah,
right,
it's still gonna,
yeah.
Even if it's like a £5 markup, yeah, like it still feels like why? Like what?
Right.
Your distributor price hasn't changed. Like why are you charging this?
Yeah, but anyway, like, my original point, although probably defeated by this, was that we shouldn't like panic too much about new sets coming out. And my reason for saying that is because, you know, the Pokemon company did come out with a statement saying we're going to try get as much product out as we can to as many customers as we can. Don't worry, we're reprinting. You know, I think English Pokemon, if you want something in English Pokemon, you're going to get it at some point. You know, it's going to come out in waves, yes, but at some point, you know, Champions Path is no longer the hot set anymore. Shining Fates is. So what happens when, you know, Battle Stars come out? Probably it's not going to be as popular, but it's going to take away some of the heat. And then whenever Double Fighter comes out, if EV Heroes comes out, when the 25th anniversary set comes out, like things just fade away, and that's when you can buy it. So never join the hype train and be like, okay, I have to feed the scalpers my money. Like, just wait. There's going to be an opportunity down the road. I know it fucking sucks that people are opening stuff and you're not able to, and you're going to be opening it when it's not considered the cool set anymore. It's kind of like in you know, primary school when everyone has the cool toy and you can't get it until like way later, and it's no longer the cool toy and you get it and everyone else is onto the new toy. Yeah, it's kind of like that. But at the same time, we're now grown ass adults and we can, you know, wait our turn to get that stuff, right? I
think that's a really good analogy to make. And with cards, I think it's an important thing to know that. So like when you're a kid, you're naive, right? You see everyone else enjoying it, and it's supposed to be like that whole thing of, you almost want a piece of that like social like pie almost.
Right.
Like people, you need the social kind of clout, as people call it now. And it's the same thing with cards, right? So you have to ask yourself when you make that purchase, when you're chasing, say like Cosmic Eclipse right now is obviously apparently due a reprint. I'm hearing rumors of it being cancelled in the EU, but it's still going ahead in America. But for me, like, I would happily right now buy Cosmic Eclipse because at the price that it is right now.
Right.
One, because, you know, it's not astronomical, the price of the booster box, but I think the set itself is amazing. I'd love to open it. I think the artwork in it is incredible.
Really beautiful cards.
Like it's insane, and in the future I think it's got great growth potential. But if you're one of those people that's looking to buy Cosmic Eclipse just because you're seeing other people doing it and you fear that you're not going to see the product again, and then you get to the end of the road where it starts to be available and you buy it and you open it or you have it and you're like, like it's not the big thing anymore and you're not attached to it. You've bought that thing for the wrong reasons. Just like when you're a kid and you have the toy late and you bring it into school and everyone's like, oh, that's not the cool thing anymore. That's not what it should be about, right? You should want the toy because you say you want to go home and play with it by yourself. Like you personally will enjoy and have a great time with that thing by yourself without any outside influence whatsoever. Yeah. And that's the thing that drives FOMO. So look at sets from an objective standpoint, find niches in sets that you love and there's a reason why you want to buy it. And it shouldn't matter about where the price movement is. Because ultimately, if you have your own reasons to buy that set and you understand why the art in it's great or why you like it, that's enough reason for you to have confidence that it might perform well in the long run. And even if it doesn't, if you have to open it, then you're still going to have a great time anyway.
Yeah,
that's what it's got to come down to.
Yeah.
So something that I wanted to talk about, and this kind of feeds into what we're talking about in a minute, is XY evolutions.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the... So, I mean, I actually, in May last year, I had 2 booster boxes I bought with the intention to invest and sit on, and that lasted about 2 weeks.
You cracked them, didn't you? Did you crack them?
I cracked them both. So I paid £125 a box.
Mm.
Now they're nearly 1,000.
Yeah.
In less than a year. I'm already hearing rumours about a reprint.
Maybe not at booster box level.
Not booster box level, ETB level.
Mm.
What are your thoughts on people investing heavily into evolutions at the minute? Because I know a lot of people that are going ham.
If you confirm it, if you can hold it, go for it.
I just feel like there's so many better things that are not going to be reprinted that you can invest in Pokemon. PSA cards being one of them, graded cards being one of them. You know, like we're never going to see base set Charizard ever being reprinted again. Like, get stuff that is not, you know for a fact, is never going to be reprinted again. You're carrying a certain risk when you buy modern sets because anyone who tells you it's not going to be reprinted is lying, because nobody fucking knows if they're going to be reprinted or not. Pokemon doesn't even know if they're reprinting it or not. They just make it up in a whim whenever they see like prices rise on eBay. They're probably like, this is probably a good time to reprint it. I really think, booster boxes in English is something that's really dodgy. Even if we don't get the Evolutions booster box reprint, if they reprinted those the ETBs or did another like Kanto thing, that'll impact the price. It'll impact the price anyway. It doesn't have to be a booster box. It could be whatever.
Those ETBs are going for like £200 now.
Yeah. And it's weird. ETBs had like a mini run in Walmart and Target not that long ago.
Evolutions.
Yeah, they were.
I don't know why. It was just random. Like, I don't think anyone knew about it, and they were there for $20, $25.
They go for £200.
Crazy. Yeah, man.
I think XY Evolutions generally, like, it's one of those things where, for me, you can look at it from like a backwards point of view, where you don't just look at where it was or where it came from. You look at where it is now and why it wasn't higher beforehand.
Right.
And like the numbers, obviously, the print run, especially in the US, like there is so much sealed Evolutions in the US in comparison to like the UK and EU market. Right. Like it's absolutely crazy. But like Evolutions, the fundamentals of the set, like you'll hear lots of people talk about this, and like fundamentally it's an amazing set. Like whether you are like a little bit particular about it being a reprint of base or not, it still is technically an amazing set, and it makes, at the time, made base set cards accessible to people who couldn't afford WotC era, sealed, etc.
To a whole new audience.
Absolutely.
So why, like, now where base set is and where WotC era sealed product is, Evolutions is still accessible in comparison to those prices.
Right.
So like $1,000 or £1,000 for a booster box, like, it's just an astronomical amount of money. If you have the capital and you can sit, if you can sit on it, then fine. Like I can I can justify reasons behind that purchase, not for myself, but like I just don't understand why if someone has £1,000 to just splash on something that they're going to need to sit on probably for a minimum of like 5 years, or like 3 years, 5 years to 10 years. Like if you're that patient, if you can lock that capital in, just don't understand why you wouldn't just go and buy like a WotC art set or look
Right.
at buying like a single WotC pack.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
so much safer. Like why
Yeah.
and why wouldn't you do that? Like it just doesn't make it just seems much safer in my opinion. But at the end of the day, if you want to have 36 packs and you're looking from an opening perspective, then fine, firm it, go for it. Do you? But if it comes out and it gets reprinted, I'll be seeing if I can pick up a box for near retail, even if I can get it at the halfway house between where the market price is now and retail for around £500-600.
Yeah,
I'd probably consider it.
Yeah, and also I think it ties into what we were talking about earlier when we didn't know the quantity of first edition booster boxes or booster boxes from the Wizards of the Coast era available. Think of how many stores or people have literal cases of evolutions. Like it wasn't not that long. It wasn't even a year ago. It was 6 months ago we were talking about how heavily printed evolutions was, and now we're like, oh my god, we can't get any evolutions. Like, trust me, there are people out there sitting on cases or tons of booster boxes. This set isn't nearly as rare as the price probably indicates it is. But that's just crazy.
The quality of evolutions was absolutely shocking. I mean, when you've sat and opened 72 packs in a row, you start to notice.
It's part of your soul gone missing now, Sam. As you...
I mean, don't get me wrong, it was fun, but the quality and the print lines was just how
XY.
Some of the cards were as well.
XY, mate. It was a bad era. It was a bad era for quality. But it reminds me very much of what's happening right now as well. But yeah, evolutions, I think, is kind of absolutely up in the air at the moment. I can't give a definitive answer of if I had several £1,000s right now to splash on it, whether I would do it now or not. Like I said, there's definitely arguments for buying it, but just that jump recently just seems absurd to me. I'd rather go elsewhere, I think, personally. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, boys, we've been going for nearly 2 hours. We're nearly at the 2 hour mark. Well, if you count my fuck up in the beginning, it's been 2 hours. So all of you who have, there's a lot of you in the chat who have been here for the whole 2 hours. I really, really appreciate you guys hanging out with us tonight. We're probably going to make this like a semi-regular thing. We'll probably come together, have a talk. All three of us really love Japanese Pokemon, and those of you in chat probably do love Japanese Pokemon too. So we're going to do a podcast, probably next podcast, hopefully, will be on Japanese stuff, and we'll have a long-ass conversation. We have a lot of other people who want to jump on the podcast too. Tojo and Sam were just the best I could find. They're the best people available. So they jumped in. So thank you so much to you guys. I really appreciate you coming on. Everyone in chat and everyone who's listening to this as a podcast, please go follow them at Tojo and Thoughts by Sam, correct? That's your Instagram, yeah. Links are in the description, and I'll put their YouTubes and everything in as well. So I really appreciate everyone watching. Thank you. I hope you have a great weekend. All right, bye-bye.